over my view of tariffs and just the market as a whole. Before I do so, go over to ztrades.net, check out the terms and conditions page, agree to our disclaimer and terms and conditions. If you do not watch the video and do not join the Discord that's free, which is in the link below, or which is in the description below. You can also go to ztrades.net, that's Z on the front, Z on the end, trade in the middle, and you can find the free access to the Discord. It's limited, but it's free. You can still talk to me anytime you want in there. I'll answer. So let's take a look at this. Now, let me just kind of, this is going to be kind of long here. This is going to be kind of long. I want to talk about tariffs. I want to talk about where the country was going. I want to talk about what happened. We're going to start off briefly with COVID and Trump. We're going to start, then we're going to move over to Biden. What happened there? And then everything went back to Trump again, where it all started with COVID. We're gonna talk about that in a second. Keep in mind, I'm going to be bashing both. So if I start off with bashing the right, don't sign off if you're right and quit watching the video. I'm also going to be bashing the left, right? I'm going to go back and forth, not just them as a whole, but each individual move, right? So it would be very ignorant of me to just bash everything the opposite political party does, even if mathematically it's a good thing. That's arrogance, absolute arrogance. I would not do that. So I'll give my view and my opinion here. I've been pointing to this line right here on SPY, this trend line. I like to see it tap at least twice. We've had 4 times. 1, 2, right there, it's a trend line to me. 3, by definition, it's a trend line if it's hit 3 times. 4, I remember this. I should have been in deep. And then here's where we're going to hit again. I think we might go past it. We're going to suck up and bounce probably before this. I think we may be up by Monday. We'll see. If retaliatory tariffs come in, we can melt past that fast. Again, guys, look at this. This is a weekly 1, 2. In 2 weeks, we dropped that hard. In fact, hold on a second here. 3 days, we went from basically, it was after hours we were at, look at that rejection on the 200. Oh my God. You got to hang out on the higher time frames. Bear flag, trend line break, bear flag. We hit 270, a little bit above that. I think we're at 272, 572, 570. And within 3 days, 2 days. Okay, this was after hours. 1, 2. And it's actually a 502 after hours. $70 drop in 2 days. $70. That's insane. Now keep in mind, it's not like SPY, it's 2018 again when I was trading in SPY's at 268. $70 is insane. $70 drop when it's this price is a lot different than when it's this price, and the percentage drop is different, right? We're going to see this. We're probably going to see the 200. There's going to be a bounce. Look at this giant volume gap right here. Look at this. The 477. I see the 490s, 480s at some point here. Again, we could be up tomorrow. We have to see. Tariffs are starting to work on smaller countries. China, I don't think so. That's going to be the hard one. That's the one that really matters the most, is China. EU, okay, Mercedes and BMWs, whatever. And they're going to think twice, especially Germany, whenever a Mercedes is going to end up costing, $200,000 to get it over here. No one's going to buy it, and they're going to be pressuring the government to do stuff. A lot of these countries have built what they have based around what their current tariffs were, so they're not going to adjust very well to this. Right. So, and let's back up here and we're going to go to COVID. All right. Let's just back up. We're going to talk about Trump, Powell, and COVID right here. In this period right here, this was with quantitative tightening. Powell announced it. Look at that bounce off that 200 right there. Trump got pissed off. He was bashing Powell on Twitter. Powell reversed it. He's like, all right, fine. He changed he inverted his opinion, what he was going to do. in December 2018. Trump said, buy the dip. December 27th, we started to rip. Here's where Trump and Powell got beef. Interest rates were plummeting. We had inflation at 1.5 with plummeting interest rates. There was a ton of liquidity. Everything was healthy. No war. The job market was better than it's been in a very long time. Unemployment, I think it was 40-year lows. That is really good. We saw the poor get richer, the middle class get richer, the rich also got richer, right? The only scenario where the poor get richer is when everyone's getting richer, is when there's like a healthy environment. The scenarios where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer are over in here. This period when inflation's going parabolic because the rich own assets, equities were ripping, houses were ripping, assets, all of that was ripping. Rich were getting richer, poor were getting poorer. Everybody had houses locked in at the price of air, 250, 300K on a house, 400K on a house. The house went up double. You're locked in at a 2.5 to 2.8, 3 interest rate. You're fine. Your bills aren't really going up that much. Maybe insurance a little bit, taxes a tiny bit. Everybody after that who's renting and then bought a house, people who then bought a house after COVID, people who were renting at the time, absolutely clobbered. We saw the biggest income disparity ever right here. And we'll talk about why in the worst situation where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. I'd rather this, everyone gets richer or everybody gets poorer at the same time. Where do we see that? During massive collapses like 2008. The rich lost money, the middle class lost money, and the poor lost money. That's healthy. You want everyone to move at the same time, which is how it's supposed to work. This period with high inflation, high cost of living, and the housing situation, that's the worst place to be in. That's what we had. We had record number of people taking European vacations in 2024, and we also had the record number of people going to food banks. Not good. That's not a good economy. Let's talk about that. We had COVID happen, right? Under Trump. Doesn't matter who was in. They were still going to cut like mad. It was extreme overkill on the Fed's end. Extreme. 100K PPP loans for online businesses. I almost got a 100K PPP loan, and I was like, I ended up not being able to get it. I applied for it, right? But I ended up not being able to get it. You have to have employees, and you had to have been started your business prior to 2020 or something like that, or 2 years. But I didn't need that. Most businesses didn't. Yeah, if you're a restaurant, but if you're online, no, you don't need that. Your business got better during COVID. It was overkill. Way overkill. They should have done half as much as they did. Again, it doesn't matter who was in. They were still going to do what they did. They injected a ton of money in the economy. Right? Now, then we had Biden get in. Did Biden take care of inflation? Not only did he not take care of inflation, right? He made it worse. He helped led us into the Ukraine war by claiming Ukraine would become a member of NATO. Zelensky backed out of the Minsk agreement that he was supposed to sign, which is what he ran on. And that immediately is going to lead to the Ukraine war. We printed tons of money. The attack on Trump's energy policy didn't work. It failed, and the Biden admin had to go back on what they did and then follow Trump's energy plan. We had gas at $7 a gallon, like within the first year of Biden getting in. Energy is one of the biggest factors of inflation, biggest ones. I'm going to get to Trump and tariffs. Give me a second here, guys. And what I don't like, give me a second. All right. You need cheap energy to have a thriving economy. Everything you get, this shirt I'm wearing, this mic I have, these computer screens, the material for this house is transported by diesel trucks, right? The cost of food, plastic, lipstick, everything. Cheap energy affects that. Fertilizer for the food, everything. You cannot have expensive energy. So everything, and then we had fires starting due to inflation. The Biden admins, the way they went about it was firing money at it to put out the fires. Example, new time home buyers get $25K to get a house. It's like, what if you just solve the underlying issue here and we kick Wall Street out, right? We got inflation under control and we could take rates down faster. Don't you think that would be better? So that's inflationary. That doesn't help the situation. It just makes it worse. So in general, the left takes care of things on the front end, right? The right takes care of things on the back end. Both serve their purposes. The way that we were doing things under Bush in the '08 crash, the back end only stuff wasn't working. And it wasn't until Obama got in that they did a stimulus, which is what we needed. We were probably going to have to do one anyways because everything was going to collapse. I don't know why they didn't do one earlier. But that was an example of back end in a time that you don't need to be using back end. You can do that at the same time as using front end ways to take care of issues and where front end had served its purpose. Bush did it wrong. Obama did it right. Obama had a setup, a bottom market while issuing a stimulus right as he got in. Amazing. So when we were going through inflation in the Biden admin, that's when you take care of the underlying issues. Job market was fine. Everything was fine. It's not like it was an '08 scenario where you need to be front end only. That's where you needed to take care of inflation with the back end, which I just kind of explained how we would do that. Lower energy. You don't need to be starting any wars, right? Kicking Wall Street out of the housing market, give them 5 years to sell half their inventory, something like that, where it's tiered and they have to sell so much. Yeah, so then we have inflation that was never taken care of that started with COVID when Trump was in, and now it's back in his hands again. So he's back like with where it started is back in Trump's hands. And so they kicked the can up the hill, so to speak. I did like what the Biden admin did with the chip bill. I mean, that sent the market soaring. That set this thing up over here. We had the chip bill, which caused us to soar. We also had anticipation of QE, which caused us to soar. So this is all just smoke and mirrors. And it's like and you all remember, not SpaceX, Virgin Galactic. Remember playing that in COVID? They're like, all right, we're going to have a launch in 2 weeks on the 25th. And it's like the, 10th. What does Virgin Galactic do? It goes up and then let's just pull it up. It shoots up and then it crashes. All right. Here are the launches over in here. Let's go to a daily. We can kind of explain this better. They haven't had a launch in so long I can't even pull it up. I don't know how they exist. All right, we're going to do a launch. All right, right? Explodes, then the launch is successful and it falls. All right, we're going to do a launch and it runs up into the launch. Here's the launch. The launch is successful, then it falls. All right, we're going to do a launch, right? You get where I'm going with this? We're also going to pull up, some more stuff here. I wanted to talk about this more, and I also want to talk about how to trade a crash. Maybe that's going to be a separate video, but give me a second here. Federal funds rate chart. I'm going to pull this up as well. Give me 1 second. I should have already had this up. Not Bank of New York, but Philly Fed. Or the, here we go. All right, let's pull this up over here. Okay, so we have anticipation. All right, we're going to cut interest rates. Remember the launch? All right, we're cutting them. Collapse. All right, stay with me here. Stay with me here. All right, we're going to talk about, I don't know if I really do not know if I agree with the way Trump went about this, but I'm going to get into that in a minute here. I'm trying to find, let's see if I can find this here. It doesn't let me adjust the chart, so we'll just have to do it this way, whatever. Anyways, let's see if I can full screen this. I won't. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Perfect. Perfect. We actually need to go back. Let me go back a bit. Hold on. Whatever. We'll leave the .com out. I don't want to mess with things now. The .com, it was the same setup as this. Okay, hear me out. All right, we're going to raise interest rates. okay? But we know that they're going to stop raising them and then we're going to cut them, right? Let's take a look at 2008 on the S&P. Let's go to the monthly. Same thing happened in COVID. They did the same thing on the chart. I've messed it up. I don't have time and I'm recording this video to go back. They hiked interest rates and they cut them. We had a collapse here in 2008. I wish I could just zoom in on this area. We hiked interest rates and then we cut them, right? We hiked interest rates, then we cut them. We had the '08 crash. We hiked interest rates, but we cut them, but things were okay. We didn't, there wasn't anything bad happening over here. We were just taking them up because under Obama, they were left at pretty much nothing, at like zero pretty much. The whole time that he was in. And then Trump gets in. This is why he gets mad at Powell. He's like, what? How come he got that? And then I get this. Take them down. They started taking them down. We had COVID. I wouldn't blame that on the COVID crash, but, and then we cut interest rates and the market was already bottom, so it took off. Well, over here, we're hiking interest rates. Let me fix this before I go crazy here. We're hiking interest rates, and now we are cutting them. There we go. I have to fix this or I'm going to go nuts. Let's come over here. There we go. There we go. There we go. Hiked interest rates, right? 98 through 2000. Cut them, dot-com crash, hiked interest rates. Cut them, 2008 financial crisis. Hiked interest rates. Cut them. And the market's starting to tank, just like it did here, just like it did here, just like it's doing here, right? This drop over here under Biden was the Russian war with Ukraine and quantitative tightening, 480 down to 346. Those of you who are freaking out because we're dropping under Trump, we dropped under Trump last time we came out booming, but things were a lot healthier. This is not good, what we have right now. And those of you, again, crying that we're dropping under Trump, we did drop under Biden as well. There's a drop in every presidency, right? I just want to know, I don't want it to be some random thing where everything's fine and all of a sudden we declare World War III. That's how you get smoked. We saw this coming. If you've been in the group, you've heard me talking about this since last year. I have it written down and I released an article talking about this right here. There's going to be some type of event that's going to set this off and the market will overreact to that event and everyone will focus on that event rather than realizing every time we've done this, we've fallen. Something's going to set it off. Every single time we fell. There was COVID. I don't know if you would count that, but we still fell. Now we're cutting interest rates and we're falling. Every single time there will be an event and it's going to react to it. This is insane. We're going to have a bounce up on this, but I don't think it's going to be, I think it's going to be short-lived. Now, Trump, I don't know about his way of going about this because I really wish that he would have negotiated and slowly talked about it. I'm going to get every country to, before we do this, some time and negotiated before he actually did it. He just did it, right? I don't know if I agree with that. I definitely agree with tariffs on Canada. They deserve it. I agree with tariffs on Europe. What should we do, guys? You tell me. Ask yourself this. What should we do? What should we do? Should we just bend over and then every country can just, they can just tariff the crap out of us, however much they want? And I don't want to do anything because that might drop the market. Everyone can just keep taking advantage of us. What do you do? The course we're going on, the old school Republican way and the Democrat way, where we just keep printing money, we fund wars, keep printing money, we fund wars, the politicians become rich, the country is going to collapse. It's math. Look at the debt and how much money that comes in. With our taxes on what we're taxed, what is it? I think it was 31% of the money that comes in goes to paying to interest on the debt. So what should we do? Should we take it to 50? That's 50%. 50% is what it's going to end up going to at some point here. Probably by the 2030s, if we kept going on that path. So what do? You just do nothing because you don't want to deal with it in your presidency? None of the presidents wanted to deal with this, and I see why. Look at what happens. This is what happens when we're dealing with it now. No one has the balls other than Trump to deal with it. So, again, what do you do? What's the answer? Just let them, right? What would you rather? Would you rather us get everything under control, which I don't think it's going to work with China, and I think it's going to be inflationary. The rest of the tariffs, I agree with. Absolutely. Right? Pulverize Europe for what they're doing and taking advantage of us. You know, we've been supporting them for a very long time. It's time for them to support themselves, right? And put the American people first. They're over here with free healthcare and everything, even though it isn't free because taxes are high. They bash us, make fun of Americans because we're dumb, we're stupid, right? Well, if you're so smart, you got it all figured out. What do you need us for, right? What do you need us for? We could pull our military out of there. If the US and China and Russia combine forces to where now there's peace everywhere, what's the point of NATO? All that spending, all that money that's going into pay, interest on the debt, that could be used for the American people and our economy. I think that would be great. Here's Trump's plan, and I don't think it's going to work. I'm sorry, Republicans, but I don't think it's going to work. Is no taxes on people that make up to 150K. I don't know if it's going to be tiered. Everything after 150 you're taxed, or your taxes if you're making all of it. I hope that it's that way. We'll see. All that extra money that people would save would then be dumped back into the economy, which would help earnings on companies. Then the tariffs are going to chase people out of other countries. They're like, oh no, American companies won't be competing with cheaper goods because the companies that are producing things for cheaper are now tariffs, so they're not cheaper. So it incentivizes them to have production here and incentivizes people to buy American goods, right? Sounds good in theory. I don't think it's going to work. I hope I'm wrong. Then we lower the corporate tax rate. What does that mean? That means there can be more jobs. Hopefully companies will do that, right? What's the other answer? Just keep going the way we're going until the country collapses? There is no coming out of it. There is no fixing it at that point. We were going to have World War III with Russia if the other party got in. You wanted that collapse instead? Should we have had that collapse? Should we have taken capital gains taxes to 66? I wouldn't be trading, or I'd be doing it out of a trust to make my life a living hell. Raise the corporate tax rate, less jobs, more taxes. What do we do with the taxes? We buy it to send to other countries, and we buy bombs with, and the ROI is zero. That's a better plan? How is that a better plan? Right? What do we do? Someone's got to take care of all these issues. I agree with the tariffs, but not the way that Trump's going about it. Ask yourself, what would be a plan that would work? How would you do it? Right? And no, going to World War III for Russia doesn't, come on. That's the worst thing that could ever happen. And that's what was going to happen. That's what we almost had. So right now, I want to see this thing get pulverized. I want to see SPY get pulverized. I think that half the countries are going to comply. I'd say a good 60%. The others won't. I think the tariffs are going to be inflationary. I want Trump to hurry up and figure something out with Xi immediately. They've got to take the tariffs off us. It's tit for tat. They're doing it to us. That's not fair. Why isn't anybody outraged about that? You're outraged that we're doing it back to them? Where's your outrage for that and for the American people and what's fair for America? How come I don't hear that out of a lot of people? Because it's inconvenient because we dropped? I want this thing to get destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. Powell doesn't like Trump. Remember where I talked about where their beef started over in here with this drop. This is Trump deleted his Twitter. I could go back and find the tweet, or Twitter deleted Trump's account, so we can't see that. I have screenshots though where I was like, is Trump saying buy the dip? This is ridiculous. So this is where their beef started. Powell was sure as heck quick to cut interest rates leading up to elections when we had a booming market. Right? The second Trump got in, now he's like, whoa, inflation's not under control. It's like, yeah, I know that. But well, why were you so quick to cut interest rates prior to that, leading up to elections, right? And I kind of agree with Powell. I disagree with the way he was cutting interest rates fast to make the other administration look good leading into, because Biden had a meeting with Powell, and then all of a sudden Powell's just like cutting interest rates. We're cutting them. Everything's going to be rainbows and butterflies right after that meeting. Trump gets in and now he's hawkish. I still agree with him. Inflation's not under control. Don't take rates lower right now. I would love it. You know what would be really cool is if they hiked interest rates. If they hiked interest rates right now, they're like, we're actually going to go back into QT, but the Fed doesn't work like that. Once they start QT, they stick with it till the end. Once they start QE, they stick with it until the end. They may delay it, which sounds like that's what they're going to do. But I don't think he's going to cut. Do you know how much an iPhone's going to be out of China if they're with them produced there? It's going to be astronomical. It's going to be ridiculous. That's going to affect Apple's earnings. That's going to be horrible. Who's going to pay $2,500, $2,400 for an iPhone? If you do that and you're broke, there's something wrong with you. Get an Android for $200. I know they suck, but be realistic. So I don't see how that can affect inflation. And here's what scares me. Here's the number one thing, because they can just, it could be a simple phone call. All right, we're done with tariffs, free trade between our countries. That sounds fair, doesn't it? I don't know why you guys don't see that. Here's what scares me. Here's what we saw on inflation. Companies had to raise prices because of inflation after COVID. And then whenever they could start getting things cheaper, they never drop the prices. That's what I'm scared of. Example, iPhones, $1,500 right now after tariffs are $2,000. Okay, tariffs go away, now there's none. And Apple's like, we're gonna just take it to $1,750. And you're like, what? And then it's permanent, it's stuck there permanently. I don't like that. That's scary. That is inflationary. Again, the EU, Canada, they deserve it. They had it coming. And they're going to fold. I told everyone Canada's going to fold. They folded sooner than I thought. And then it's smart of them too. We should have free trade. A 400% uptick on milk from dairy farm. That's ridiculous going into Canada. So we want cheap energy, low inflation, okay, free trade, which will cause the price of goods theoretically should drop a lot. That's in theory. Let's see if that happens. I just kind of just told you what I think companies will do. Lower taxes, lower corporate taxes, booming job growth. It could be a mecca here, right? It'd be nice if Trump could kick Wall Street out of the housing market and force a crash. But then everyone would be crying. You'd be like, okay, you want us to fix the housing market? We're going to kick Wall Street out. And then housing would drop and they'd be like, oh my gosh, can you believe what Trump's doing? Look at this, housing's down. And it's like, yeah, that's what needs to happen. I want that to happen. That would help a lot. That would be great. It all depends on how you're set up here. I wish the Biden admin had done that. They were in talks, but they didn't do it. And then some Republicans were in talks and they didn't do it either. I want Wall Street out. I'd like a crash. But as long as you're positioned right and you weren't buying this dip up like we're not this high, then you're good. I'm mostly cash. I've nibbled here and there. I think that we're going to come down. I don't even know if we're going to reach it to this line. We may pop up, and that's a long bar right there on the weekly. And I think we're going to continue to fall. Keep in mind, guys, because I understand what's going on. I'm seeing what's happening here, and I have my tinfoil on a bit, and I'm being extremely opinionated on this view. It seems like Israel helped pave the way for Trump to get in. So they definitely assisted, in my opinion. And we can see that Trump's helping Israel out a lot. Israel does not like how Iran has nukes, has a nuclear program. I know for a fact that they're going to go to war with, in my opinion, I'm 100% sure they're going to go to war with Iran. The U.S. will. And Israel will help assist with that. Maybe they'll be involved. I don't know. But, and now it's happening. Trump said, you have XYZ amount of time to comply with eliminating your nuclear plan. And what we've taught countries over time is if you don't have nukes, that we're coming after you, right? So example, Syria, Libya, I can go on and on and on. North Korea, we didn't go after them. Why? Why do you think, right? So that's going to happen. That could be another gigantic futuristic black swan to happen. It's not a black swan because we kind of see that coming. But we've got Trump telling you it's going to be painful, so I don't really necessarily want to go heavily long. We have a pending Iran war that could possibly happen. Maybe I have too much tinfoil on there. Then we have Powell saying, nope, we're not cutting. It may be at the end of the year. Maybe in December before they cut at this rate. Nothing looks good. And then we had this smoke and mirrors run just on anticipation, like it's a Virgin Galactic launch, like they're launching it. The video may cut out, guys. If it does, if you like this information, like, subscribe, comment for more. I'm being a bit opinionated here. Right? This whole run right here needed to be eliminated. It's like a biotech pop, you know, or a meme coin explosion. That's a horrible analogy. Anchored VWAP right here, 200 EMA right here, trend line right here. Right? This whole area with big gaps right there and there. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. I am, can I see /VX on here? Can I on TrendSpider? It won't let me, so I have to see VXX. Oh, yeah, that doesn't help me. Good Lord. But every time we've had a massive pop like that, we've had a big drop. At some point, you know, you just don't know if it's going to be like Black Monday 87, although things are different now. It would be nice if that happened. I'm going to do another video on how to trade crashes, how I got this house. I didn't get the money to buy the entire house cash. I got the money for the down payment as well as the closing costs, which was close to $70,000 on how I trade a crash. You know, oh, you just buy puts and you hold it. No, it doesn't work like that, guys. You don't know when there's going to be rallies, because even in, I'll go into this in the next video, but just to sum this part up, even in 08, there was like 3-month rallies. And if you're in puts, they were worth 0 and you would have cut them. You don't know what the future is. You can't see it. It's easy when you're looking at the chart and being like, I should have held because it went up after. You can't see that it went up, guys. Right? You can't see that. There's a way to do it until contracts are start getting closer to their max value and the IV's too cooked. At that point, you know, that's a completely different strategy. There's some very advanced strategies, but we're not going to go into those. You do a inverse butter. We can talk about that. But right now, when IV isn't too cooked, it already is on SPY. The leverage funds, it's not necessarily there like it is on SPY yet. But we'll talk about my strategy here. I'm already doing it and starting to win. And like an idiot, I only bought one on each side on the long swing channel in the Discord. And this is going to be a great point to start shorting UVXY very lightly, going in for shorts, possibly buying a put debit spread on UVXY. We'll see. Gap fills right here, 440 on SPY, 422. Would love to see that be filled. Before I get off here, we're going to move into the watch list right after this. We've got a gap fill at 69 on NVIDIA, 30. Is that going to happen? 20. And wouldn't that be nice? You know, I highly doubt it with their earnings, but that would be really cool if that could happen, or we could see this enormous volume gap down to 18. It's not going to happen. We'll probably see the 60s, high 60s, low 70s. That's where we're going to have to start adding. Anyways, guys, I was a bit opinionated here. I don't necessarily agree with everything Trump's doing, and I don't necessarily agree that it's going to work. I hope that I'm wrong. It's somewhat working. And yeah, that's my view on tariffs. Some countries I agree with. China, he should have not done it and should have negotiated and talked and met with Xi and figured something out before actually doing it, because we don't want prices to go up and then stick. And then when they remove the tariffs, example, Apple doesn't lower the price of the iPhone, or just by a little bit. That's what I'm scared of, because then that's permanently there and that's like baked in and it's not going away, because we saw companies do this over the past couple of years with food. Kellogg's did this. It's another conversation. So yeah, if you guys like this information, this content, make sure to like, follow, comment for more. Let me know your opinions. Let me know your opinions in the comments below.